I'm hoping tomorrow I'll bring what the Lord gave me this morning on Amy's presentation. Isn't it interesting that what I decided to talk about that Amy had mentioned was a virus? It's like a virus, she said. Anyway, I want to share. This is the second part of Outside the Gate. I haven't watched it all. I know it's about
Holding on to
the lady who brought me into church.
Hi. Part 2, Outside the Gates.
This woman I'm talking about, this is how it's just so weird. Amy's father had a childhood relationship. He married this lady. Her name was Anya. And she'd been molested. She was damaged. He was damaged. He'd been beaten. Between the two of them, it was a toxic relationship. And that's when he established, and I'm not, look, the Lord God told me that Robbie, which is Amy's father, just makes it. He just scrapes in. Honest, he does. And anyway, they established this really violent relationship. The police were called the whole time when they were married. And that lady, Anya, is who I rang to take me to church. I just rang her out the blue. Said, can you take me to church? Because she was the only Christian I knew. So that's what this is about, from what I can see. But we'll play it and see what I'm saying here.
So this word sort of illustrates how God uses all of us, not just Christians, to speak. He uses non-Christians, many of which are chosen to come into God's army, end-time army, and also Christians that are backslid or maybe not be living a holy life which they're called to. So when I was being called, drawn to follow Jesus, a Christian prayed for me. Now she heard God say, don't worry, she's pegged. So she was not surprised when a year later I rang her asking her to take me to church. This Christian, and at the time, I never thought anything of it being a non-Christian. I was not judgmental. I didn't know how to weigh her behaviour, but she used to come out and smoke dope with us. But when I became a Christian, God cleaned me up pretty quickly, and I started to look at her and wonder what that was all about. And God pretty quickly rebuked me before I come under judgment over her and come under his judgment for that. He gave me a dream, and in this dream he showed me that she was outside the church, and there was a big brick wall that circled the church, and she was at the gate but holding onto the edge and on a ledge, leaning out, pulling non-believers in. And I think pretty much it was an Elim church, and she was the only person who was bringing non-believers into the church, and she had brought quite a few in. So there's your backslid Christian. And then this family member of mine that God calls Amy.
We know who she is.
She's Satan at the present time, but God's showed me that she has a call in her life and she's yet to come into it. So this word that I shared earlier, it just shows how, although she manifests Satan in her life now, she is used by God and she does release some of God's truth. So I just want to encourage you to listen to the unbeliever. God will speak through them, especially if they have a call on your life. He already will be speaking to them. Just humble yourself. Also in this word, I just want to reflect again on my deliverance. Now when I was in this church, the Ted Bundy video was the one and only video he did, and he would only do that with James Dobson, and he had a radio show back in the 90s called Focus on the Family. You may remember him. I have been reminded of this video in the last few days, because God has taken me through the past and he is speaking to me in the present and given me discernment and understanding about what we are going to experience and are experiencing in this end time. So God has called me on what he's called the Internet Gold Trail. So on this gold trail, I have come across a word called the force. I come across this in two ways. One of the ways was a dream that I had about 6 months ago. God reminded me of this is another family member. This family member has been divorced and she's in another relationship. Without going to all the detail, the important part of this dream was that I was in the room and her partner that she is with now is on one side, the other side of the room, and then this family member goes and sits on his knee.
It's my sister.
Then he turns into the husband that she had married 30 years ago. They had a 10-year marriage. Now, one thing I know about this man and her is that she had shared, the two of them had done jitsu, and she had shared with me, I was a non-Christian, that it was more than just a black belt of ninjutsu that they had. It was a belief, a religion, and she said it was to do with the Force, and she gave me an example of Star Wars and how the Force is with you and how that is pretty much a good picture of what she was trying to share with me. Now in the stream I had 6 months ago, she got off this man's knee and she grabbed me by my necklace and pulled me across the room like that. And then she got behind a desk with a pointer and a whiteboard and tried to preach and teach me what she believed. So I was reminded of that when I came across on the internet this book. Now this book is called, so I want to encourage you to go and look up the James Dobson Ted Bundy video, but also I want to encourage you to look up this book called The Masonic Egyptian Satanic Connection. The Masonic Egyptian Satanic Connection. It's by David Corico. Apparently he wrote a book. He was in prison. You'll know of the Illuminati. You may have come across that term. So it very much lists the families. When I downloaded the book, and it's 265 pages. It's sitting there that I read the introduction, and the first family he brought up, he said, was a little known family called, guess what? the Bundy bloodline. So in this, I'll just give you a summary of what you'll get to read here, and keep in mind the deliverance that I went through. And at the end, I'm going to mention 2 other points to you. So Ted confesses on the telephone that his girlfriend, and his girlfriend records this testimony that, and this is before he is saved, that he wasn't a split personality. He knew what he was talking about. He was saying, he's trying to describe why he did what he did. He said that he was controlled by a force. So this exposes some truth about the source of Satan's power and the various manifestations of it. So what I was saying about how the deliverance I had of this Leviathan spirit was similar, or definitely its power was broken in Ted's testimony. I'm in a place now, I realise it was the same spirit as was over Ted. And then this book links Ted to possible ancestry to the Masons. Now, I do not know for sure that my ancestry is Masonic, but there is pedophilia in my family on my mother's side. So the best clue I have of this, now I want you to Google that book and read that Bundy family, so you can see the statement he made about the force. Think about this family member who talked about the force that came in through the martial art. But this will really throw this one. So this other family member, Amy, that God calls Amy, shared with me that, look, my mother passed away, so I can't find out from her or my father. I know I've been delivered from any ancestry spirits, but as my mother was passing away and in hospital, I was unaware of it. And then when I talked to this family member, she said that she had talked to my mother before she passed and after she passed, when she was in the underworld. So straight away I go, we can't talk to the dead, but then technically she wasn't dead when she started talking. And I said, well, I didn't say anything to her. I just said, well, what did my mother say to you? And she said that my mother had said to her that there was a curse of masonry over our family, and this is why we had our problems. So I am going to go with that. And I suggest to you that when I was delivered, because I never knew what exactly it was I was delivered of, watching the Ted Bundy video.
After that video, I went to after this video, I went to Twizel to sort through my mother's stuff. And I found a picture of my grandfather in Freemasonry garb, which I'd never known about, and my mother had never said, which explains why my mother became the sacrifice in the family, and that he started sleeping with a baby in nappies, my mother, until she was 16. If I have time, on this phone is a picture of my grandfather. So that is what the Lord sovereignly gave me deliverance of. Sins of the father, generational sin, when I watched the Ted Bundy video when he made his confessions before he went to the electric chair. And let's play on anyway.
I suggest to you that that was the curse of masonry over my family. So I rejoice, and I think it links to Ted's testimony before he went to the electric chair. You know, that video is part of and probably the main reason for my deliverance, because the church didn't recognise any of that and I didn't recognise it. So it was sovereign. So he has done some good by sharing his testimony and being humble. And yes, he gave us keys about pornography being progressive and deadly, and possibly like me, he didn't realise that he was under a curse of masonry, which is basically the hypothesis that that book gives. So you might think, oh, it's a giant leap, but it's not a giant leap. Not when you've got the Holy Spirit and you know that everywhere you're led on this internet gold trail is to give you keys. So I'm just here to, I want to give glory to Ted. I want to thank him, and I will in heaven, for setting me free from that. Yes, there are ongoing things to do over masonry ancestral curse over my family. I have other family members, but I've been free from it all my walk except that first year. But I also want to give glory to God, because a lot of people are shocked to think that someone who could have murdered and done such terrible things is going to be redeemable and in heaven, and he is. And so was Saul. He was redeemed. I don't know why. We just need to realise that the ability to forgive is not in our own strength. That it's not possible, and that it's only done supernaturally by God. And I have a testimony that's evidence to me that supernaturally I've been able to forgive into circumstances which I know I was not capable in my own strength to do. But as soon as I watched that video, I knew that Ted was forgiven right back there in my first year as a Christian, and I've always known the grace of God. So he can forgive me, he can forgive Ted, he can forgive you, and he can give you discernment. So do those two homework things. I see them as evidence of my testimony. Thank you. Love you.
No. Okay. Goodness me. I have to go back a long way. It's just in these gallery pictures. There he goes. So I'm pretty sure about the Freemasonry, aren't I? Based solely on what my daughter told me. That's her presentation. It's my mother. The Lord took her up. He did. You'd be surprised who he'll save. And that is a very blurry picture that I found in her stuff. And that is my granddad. Oop. I've shown it before. Freemason. It's got a glass eye and he's missing a middle finger. And that little gremlin there with the hatchet. So anyway, that's that. I'm not gonna take any more of your time. You can look at some of those new videos. I tell you what, it just made me really made me. Which one? There's so many. I watched all these. They're so short. I just can't believe. Listen to this one. How cryptic this is.
This word that I got on awakening from my sleep. Short poem, I think. I will trace your steps. I will trace your steps. Yes, well, do you think this is me? This is Satan and comes after your steps. Nothing can be traced until after it has happened. And it is happening now. So there is danger, but only after the fact, when it has already happened. I'm igniting a fire, 2 here and 3 over there. No one will get to it on time. They won't be there in time to do anything about that. The damage is done. In my world, it's a good thing. This will be how you will come to see things as well.
Whoa. Wow. One more.
So the Lord's woken me up this morning with a dream, and the important details were the car that I saw. It was a black car, and I was zooming into the details of the car, like the armrest, the external lines of the car, and these lines shifted out, and then they were filled in with either the black paint, the upholstery, or there's a lot of silver chrome on this car. And then I started writing what the Lord was giving me, and spent the day watching. There's 3 in the trilogy of Men in Black, so I watched the first one, and there's a lot of stuff in there that's symbolic, but I'm still hoping to see their car wreck. The car that was in my dream was the car that they drive in the movie The Men in Black, and my husband told me it is a Ford Grand Victoria or something like that. That's what that car is called. So it has that royalty symbolism. Anyway, here's the word. As I was picturing this car wreck from my dream. It's a car wreck. Everything will be filled in time. Once you get to it, you will shift things, like moving details, edges and lines that contain it, and I will fill it in. This is your proof that it is happening, going to happen the way I said it would. It is a black car, like the one in the movie Men in Black. It has leather seats and lots of chrome details. It sits on the side of the road, crossing the medium rail, halfway on the shingle, gravel edge, having broken the rail. It was surrounded by desert like on a highway. I'm sorry I can't tell you any more than that, but I can say you will feel the details as they happen. You will be present, and it will be a witness in your spirit. It is like this because I can't have anything changing, can I? It's a purposeful plan, and one that is substantially made and in place now. Don't be surprised if you get accused of being part of it, because you know so much about it. They just want to control you, but you cannot control the voice of God. It is explicit in its purpose and divinely motivated. It's my dog again. So much for TV and media telling us what's going on. Not the information I'm giving you. No, a secret document can't contain it. It is the mind of Satan and the mind of Christ. But thankfully for you, he has never and will never know the mind of Christ. A welcome bed for the ones he calls. That's us. A bed of nails for he who is not. Don't forget the exchange between two lovers, the vow, the ring, the loving embrace. Now this is the awaited celebration. The one that has come and has yet to come awaits. Don't forget your toes, count them. Ensure they are all there. He will be counting his fingers, and the number is 666. Thanks. Have a nice night.
Oh my Lord. They're just short, but they just take you to another place. They take you to another place to try and understand them, even.
Someone's going to have to revisit their dreams and take serious stock. Someone's going to have to revisit their dreams and take serious stock. Stock of all the moments I've said, don't wait for him. Forget it. It's not worth the trouble. Problem with mankind is there's no bloody problem. They can't see further than their nose, and they make the bloody thing up. It's not that I forsake them. It's just time to call them out. Call a spade and send the bulldozers in. It's a mighty big clear out. Out with all the rubbish, off with all the bullshit. Let's talk dirty. I'm not a God that insults a person by pretending I don't know their intentions. I'll tell you like it is, and I'll take the consequences. Funny thing is, the consequences are the very thing that expose you. So speak out. Let a clown be a clown, but present yourself wholly before the Lord. The person who holds dough is the one who has the yeast, not the one lurking in the pantry trying to steal from the cook.